Well, the time has come for another 7-star Terra Raid battle, and the event this time is with Decidueye, who has got the Flying Terra type. How tough could it be? How's it going, everyone? My name is Draconic. Hope you're all fired up and ready to go for today's video. I also hope you're all having a fantastic day as well, because we got a lot to talk about with the flying type Decidueye coming up next weekend. More specifically, Decidueye would be available between the 17th and the 20th of March. So at the time of this recording, there is only 1 week left to get it. I will be hosting some live streams throughout the week at some point, just to make sure that we get ready for this Decidueye. So if any of you guys need Pokemon to get them to level 100, I'm more than happy to help you guys out. But in today's video, my job is to bestow the information upon you guys and the best way to deal with Decidueye. How to go with the one-hit KO, or even when the shields are up. So let's talk about it. Now, it's important to know that Decidueye is a grass and ghost type, so you should be expecting Decidueye to have ghost and grass moves. Its Terra type is flying for this event, and it's kind of going back to its roots with Rowlet and Dartrix. Rowlet and Dartrix, when you have them, are grass and flying, and then when it evolves into Decidueye, it replaces the flying type for ghost. It has 2 abilities. There's Overgrow, but I probably don't expect it to have this ability. I would highly expect it's going to have the Long Reach ability. This is a decent ability for this Terra Raid then. Most likely the best type is going to be Electric, which I will talk about very, very soon. And most Electric type Pokemon have the ability Static. Whenever a Pokemon attacks and a Pokemon that has the static ability, it has a chance of causing paralysis. So because of this Long Reach ability, Decidueye is not making any form of contact, and, you know, Decidueye is an archer. So it kind of makes sense that it's going to be attacking from a nice far away range. Now, it is also very important to know that there is 2 different types of Decidueye. There's the Alolan Grass Ghost Decidueye, but there's also the Grass Fighting Hisuian version that many of you might be familiar with Legends Arceus. So the Alolan Decidueye is not going to have access to any powerful fighting moves. So it does not get access to close combat. It does get access to a couple of fighting moves, but they are not that strong. So most likely it's not going to use them, but I will talk about that very, very soon. Both Decidueyes also have different types of stats, abilities, and a different moveset. So as I mentioned, close combat, it doesn't get it, so there's no need to worry about close combat at all. Now, from what we have here on these stats, it's a little bit different compared to what we've had in the recent past. The speed stat on this Decidueye is not the greatest in the world, and it trades the speed for defense and a good range of attacks. It's most likely going to be a physical attacker having access to moves like Leaf Blade, Spirit Shackle, but one important thing to notice is that its physical defense is lower than its special defense. Seems very interesting, and quite an opportunity here, right? While we're on the subject of Decidueye's low defense, it's very important to have a look at its status moves on the right hand side first. It gets access to Light Screen, which increases the special defense, and it also gets access to a move called Feather Dance, which lowers the attack stat of our Pokemon. I have a funny feeling that at the beginning, Decidueye will use Light Screen to cover its special defense, and it will also have access to Feather Dance to weaken our Pokemon as well. Going from left on the physical side, it has access to Spirit Shackle, which is a ghost move, which don't need to worry about that too much. But Leaf Blade is something to be very careful about because it has a chance to critical hit. It can also access Brave Bird, Acrobatics, which are flying moves. You've got U-Turn for Bug. Low Sweep and Low Kick are fighting moves, but they're not that strong. And it also has access to Sucker Punch. On the special side, it has access to Shadow Ball, Air Slash, Hurricane to round out the Ghost and Flying typing. And, of course, Decidueye has lots of very powerful grass moves. You've got Leaf Storm, Solar Beam, Giga Drain, Energy Ball. There is a wide variety of moves that Decidueye could use here. We've seen it before in the past. where we've had the Cinderace, which was at its core physical. We've had the Charizard, where at its core it was special. But we also had the Greninja, which was a mixed attacker. So it's very important to make sure that you cover all of the moves that Decidueye has access to. And speaking of those moves, let's go ahead and make sure that you guys truly understand the most important moves, which could be very devastating for this Terra Raid Den. I mentioned Feather Dance. This lowers the attack stat, and it could use Light Screen at the very beginning of the battle. I'm going to go ahead and run a bet that it will. It has access to Leaf Blade, which once again, critical hits, which bypasses your defense increases or even screens. And it has access to Swords Dance and Nasty Plot. So whatever direction that Decidueye will be going, it could be physical, could be special, could be both. We don't know. But it's very important to cover everything. And I think this is the most important information that we should have here. Be careful of Feather Dance, Light Screen, Leaf Blade, Swords Dance, and Nasty Plot. Okay, now that we've talked about Decidueye's moveset, its stats, its abilities, let's talk about how we're going to deal with the Terra Flying. Now, as I mentioned, Decidueye is a Grass and Ghost, so it still has access to those moves, and it has access to Terra Flying to make it even stronger. Now, only 3 types are super effective against the Flying type, and that is Rock, Ice, and Electric. Unfortunately, because Decidueye has access to Grass moves, it's not going to be very good against our Rock types. So that leaves us with only 2 types to go with, and that is Ice and Electric. On the defensive side of things, now you might want to consider this as secondary typing. We have access to Flying, Fire, Poison, Dragon, Steel, Electric, Dark, and Normal. That's quite a lot of types for the defensive side of things. But I got you guys covered on exactly what the best Pokemon are and the best types to bring. And here, in my opinion, is most likely going to be the very best Pokemon to bring into this Terra Raid event. Miraidon is gonna get the spotlight. It is an electric dragon, which fits the bill perfectly. The electric is very good against the flying Terra type, and the dragon is able to resist a grass leaf blade attack. So it can take the damage even if it gets hit by a crit. So that only really leaves realistically a ghost move to hit it, and unless we get Shadow Claw, which I can't remember, Miraidon is hands down the best pick here. Let me just emphasize, alright, how powerful Miraidon is going to be here. It gets the ability Hadron Engine, which sets up an electric terrain which boosts the damage of electric type moves. And what type of moves does Miraidon get? Electro Drift, which is insanely powerful because it gets stronger if hitting a Pokemon that is weakened by a super effective move. It's got the electric terrain, it's got electric for stab, you can Terra Electric with, by default, with the electric Terra Miraidon that you get if you completed Violet. Yeah, this is also very, very strong here. You also have access to Parabolic Charge to heal, you have access to Charge Beam to make it even stronger, and you have access to a move like Metal Sound to decrease special defense, and you have Calm Mind to make yourself even stronger. And if you run Expert Belt, or even Life Orb, or just anything, this Miraidon is very, very powerful. And I cannot emphasize how powerful Miraidon is, so just to give you guys an idea exactly how strong it is, I've created a Miraidon sticker, okay? Whenever we go through the rest of the Pokemon on this list, if you see that Miraidon sticker, you will see the correct Pokemon that pair incredibly well with Miraidon. And I also have one right here. So Miraidon also pairs really well with other Miraidons. They all support each other. If you have Violet and you've caught your Miraidon, awesome job. If you have Scarlet and you have no way of getting Miraidon, do not worry. I got you covered. Okay, so before we get to the good electric types, I have to cover the ice types first of all. And these ice types, I'm very sorry, I don't think they're going to be very good for this Terra Raid Den, but I wanted to go ahead and cover them anyway. And in my opinion, the best ice type to bring is Baxcalibur. Now, once again, I mentioned Feather Dance at the very beginning. Baxcalibur has access to Swords Dance, so you're using Sword Stance over and over and over again with Excalibur, but the Decidueye has access to Feather Dance, so that makes your Sword Stance just doesn't really exist at all. But you have some really good moves here. You've got access to Icicle Spear, you've got Ice Spinner, Icicle Crash, Avalanche, and you also have access to Snowscape, which increases the defense of Ice types. You could also give the Excalibur Expert Belt to increase attack, or you can give it loaded dice to make Icicle Spear the strongest move for the Excalibur. Next up, we have Weavile. Now, once again, I highly recommend you do not use these physical ice types. Weavile, in my opinion, is just a budget Excalibur. It's a bit weaker, but it is faster, which might come up. It's just something to consider. Most of the moves that Weavile has, Sword Stance, Ice Spinner, Icicle Crash, it's very, very similar to the Excalibur. So if you aren't able to get a Excalibur, Weavile is another good pick for you. But again, I highly recommend you do not bring physical ice types to this. Now, if you really do want to bring a physical electric type, there is Iron Hands. Is it going to be good? Maybe? I don't know. This is a very weird one. You have access to Belly Drum, you've got Thunder Punch, you've got Drain Punch to keep yourself nice and healthy, which Drain Punch is not too bad against this flying type after a Belly Drum. I highly recommend you give it Citrus Berry to make sure that after the Belly Drum it keeps its HP nice and good. I would avoid using Wild Charge, because if you use Wild Charge with the Iron Hands after a Belly Drum, most likely you're going to get yourself knocked out. So I would only go for Wild Charge if you know you're going to do the one-hit KO. So be very, very careful about that. And Miraidon's there. It works with Iron Hand's ability Quark Drive. Yeah, very, very strong here. Very, very strong here. Also has some very good bulk. Now, the last physical Pokemon that I really want to talk about here is Ice-Q. Now, you may be thinking, Draconic, why have you talked about 3 physical Pokemon and you told me not to bring them? Ice-Q is a little bit different. And it's all thanks to everything that you can see here. Every single thing that you're seeing right now works together. When you start the raid with Ice-Q, you want to start using Snowscape. This will bring in the snow to the field, which is a brand new weather condition that replaced hail. Ice types in the snow increase their defenses by 50%. You can then, after that, use Aurora Veil, which increases the defenses of all Pokemon on the field, not just Ice types, but it makes Ice-Q even more bulkier. What's better is that Ice-Q has access to the ability Ice Face. So if Ice-Q gets attacked by any physical move that Decidueye has, it's just like Mimikyu, it will absorb the damage. And when you activate Snowscape, when the face is gone, it comes back while the hail is on the field. This is really, really powerful. So Ice-Q is able to keep itself nice and safe. That's the perfect time to then use Belly Drum. When your friends, allies, comrades, when they have used their Screeches or anything to decrease the Decidueye's defense, you can use Belly Drum, maximize your attack stat. Feather Dance, don't care. Ice-Q just doesn't care about Feather Dance at that point. It's got the bulk, it's supported the team, it can go Belly Drum and then hit the Decidueye with Ice Spinner. I also just thought you could probably give Ice-Q Shell Bell just to make sure that its HP stays nice and high, so it's something to consider. But even talking about Excalibur, Weavile, Iron Hands, and Ice-Q actually does see some very good play for this. I highly recommend you don't bring these physical ones because, like I said, Feather Dance is a move that exists, and you're most likely going to benefit from special attackers. So let's start talking about these special attackers, because we've got a good load of them for you guys. Up first, we have Rotom, which Miraidon supports. You can run Rotom Flying, or you can run Rotom Fire. It does not matter which type here. But what's very important is that it gets access to Nasty Plot to increase its special attack. You've got Thunderbolt, which is a very powerful electric move. You've got Charge Beam to continue to increase your special attack over and over and over again. But you've also got access to Will-O-Wisp to weaken Decidueye, or Eerie Impulse to, once again, weaken Decidueye. It completely depends on the moveset that it's on. Next up, and quite honestly, this is one of my favorite Pokemon to bring into this. We have Toxtricity. With the ability Punctured Rock, the Overdrive attack is going to be even stronger. And when you pair that with the held item Throat Spray, yeah, Toxtricity is just going to get stronger and stronger. You could even use Charge Beam if you really wanted to increase your special attack to the right time, to then use Overdrive, which will then activate Throat Spray. You gotta remember, when you're in these raid dens, the Terra Pokemon have a chance of removing your stats. So finding the right time to use the Throat Spray held item could be very, very important. You'll also have access to some really powerful moves here. You've got Acid Spray to decrease special defense, which works really good for yourself and your allies. You have Nuzzle for paralysis, and you also have access to Eerie Impulse to decrease Decidueye's special attack, if it is a special attacker, of course. Next up, we have good old reliable Toxapex. Now, it is a water, but, you know, it's got really good bulk. The poison makes everything neutral, so it can take the damage from a Leaf Blade really, really well. It has access to Acid Spray to decrease special defense, which is really good for special attackers. You also have access to Chilling Water to decrease the attack stat if the Decidueye does have Swords Dance. You got Recover to keep yourself nice and healthy. You got the held item Leftovers. And Toxapex also gets access to the move Haze. Would you use Haze for this? It depends. If the Decidueye has increased its attack stats with Swords Dance or Nasty Plot too high, you can use Haze, reset the field, and it's really... You're just going to have to weigh it up on the best time to use Haze. Next up, in my honest opinion, the best support and disruption Pokemon here, we have Revavroom. It's got access to Acid Spray and Screech, so it's able to decrease the defenses of Decidueye. It also has access to Taunt. So if Decidueye does have access to Swords Dance, Feather Dance, any of these types of moves, you can use Taunt, and Decidueye will not be able to use any of them. So something to consider. Most of the Pokemon probably have access to Taunt, so finding the right time to use it is definitely going to be key. It also gets access to the move Parting Shot. I've never used Parting Shot myself in the Terra Raid dens. I would bet that it doesn't work when the shields are up, so best time to use it is probably when the shields are down, just to help your team set up. Give it Leftovers, held item, keep it nice and safe, and it could do really, really good in this Terra Raid. And last, we have a bit of a hybrid. This Magnezone here can work offensively, support, disruption, it does everything. It's steel as well, so it can also resist grass and flying, which is really, really strong here. It gets access to the ability Analytic, so if the Magnezone is attacked, the next attack that it will do will be even stronger. It gets access to Screech and Metal Sound to decrease defenses. You can use Thunderbolt, which is the strongest attack there. Someone has joined a Discord call, but we're doing this live on video. We have Charge Beam to increase Magnezone's special attack stat. And we also have Magnezone, it's got Reflect in Light Screen. So, the held items, Magnezone can run anything. It can run Light Clay to make the screens last longer. It can go Expert Belt for extra damage. It can even go Scope Lens just to make sure that the accuracy of Metal Sound and Screech hits. Magnezone can get it done. Want to run Leftovers to keep itself nice and healthy? Sure. This is a very, very good Pokemon to bring, and it probably isn't going to be as powerful as Pokemon like Miraidon or Rotom, but Magnezone, not bad. Not bad. A very good hybrid that we've got here. And last but not least, there is a whole bunch of honorable mentions. Working from the left all the way to the right, we have Bellibolt, which works very similar to Magnezone. It's got Electromorphosis as the ability, a wide variety of electric type moves. We have Electros, which has access to Acid Spray. Kilowattrel has access to Feather Dance. Then you have Jolteon, Ampharos, Raichu, which have a wide variety of electric attacks. I think some of them might have some very specific moves that could also be very, very good as well. You've also got Pincurchin, or Pincurchin, however you want to pronounce it. It's just a budget Miraidon. It can set up the electric terrain, which might be very good for Scarlet players. The two ice types we have here, we've got Cryogonal, which is a phenomenal special attacker. However, it does have really bad defensive stats. So, if the Decidueye is a physical attacker, highly recommend you do not bring Cryogonal. You've also got Glaceon for variety with the ice types, which is not terrible. You have Grimmsnarl, which, honestly, Grimmsnarl, it only does good things. Set up screens, fake tears, Spirit Break to weaken special attacking moves. Grimmsnarl can get it done very, very nicely. In last, you have Corviknight. It does have access to Screech and Metal Sounds, but the problem with Corviknight is that it just sits there. Once the shields go up, Corviknight will not be able to do anything. So if you fail to do the one-hit KO, Corviknight is not going to do anything when the shields go up, which is a bit unfortunate. That's why you've got other Pokemon, as I mentioned, that even though when the shields do go up, you still get access to a move like Acid Spray, which still decreases the special defense stance. And there you have it, everybody. That is my opinion and most likely the best way on how to deal with Decidueye. I mentioned this already. I highly recommend you do not bring any physical attackers. The Excalibur, the Weavile, the Iron Hands even. Ice Cube might see some viability because of the screens it can set up. But I mentioned Miraidon, I mentioned the Magnezone, I mentioned Rotom, Toxtricity. I mentioned all the very good special attackers that you can bring. And I highly recommend that you all understand and go with the special attacking route. I also feel like electric types are the best way to go because they can apply paralysis with moves like Nuzzle or even Thunderbolt if you really want to think about it. So electric types are definitely going to be the best way to go. And Miraidon, phenomenal, able to support these electric types and most likely get the one-hit KO as well. But that's going to do it for today, folks. I will be live. And if any of you need any help with Decidueye, you're more than welcome to join my live stream next weekend when we are hosting this Decidueye. I will do my very best to make sure that you all succeed. I will also make sure that your Pokemon are level 100 because I've got a whole bunch of spare candy as well. So feel free to join in. We'll help each other out and we will triumph over the flying Decidueye. But that's going to do it for me, guys. Hope you all enjoyed watching. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a phenomenal week when it comes up. Keep your fire burning. And I'll see ya in the next one. Goodbye, everybody. Have a good one. Adios.